something that's near and dear to my heart, and is Golden Tate going from the evil Chicken Hawks over to the glorious, beautiful, awesome, Super Bowl bound.
Super Bowl winless. Sorry, I had to go there. I just had to go there. My bad.
Sorry,
bad.
Jim, I'm doing it.
That's on me. That's on me.
Fuck you.
Oh, wow. We have just become an explicit on iTunes. Thank you.
Yeah. Look, man, Golden Tate. The Lions have been waiting for somebody to come in that has some decent talent to stand on the other side of the field from Megatron.
The man, the myth, the legend.
The god of Detroit. Well, I'm sorry, he's probably more like an archangel because we all know who Detroit's god is, and that's Barry Sanders.
True that.
Quitter.
Wait, what did you just say?
Moving right along.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right, look, the Lions have been waiting for this guy. They've been waiting for somebody to come in and be that guy that stands across from Calvin Johnson and can stop the triple and double teams from happening. Golden Tate is that guy. They've been waiting. I mean, they brought in Titus Young. The guy's batshit insane. They brought in freaking Nate Burleson. He was already old when he got here, and yeah, he was all right. And last they brought in Ryan Broyles, and the guy can't stay on the field. Tate caught 72 balls last year in a Seattle offense that was just not really a real pass-heavy offense. I mean, they just handed the ball off to beast mode all day long, hoped that Russell Wilson could run a couple touchdowns in, and he did. And he actually, what happened to the Broncos again, guys? Oh, that's what I thought. Silence. Oh, we missed it. Okay, so Stafford threw 634 times last year. Calvin got 156 of those. Reggie Bush got 80, and Joyke Bell had 69. That leaves 329 targets. Now, whether they throw that much this year or not, even if you take 100 of those targets out of that 329, that is 229 targets to split between a tight end and Golden Tate. The only way I don't see Tate putting up solid wide receiver 2 numbers this year is if, and please God, please let this happen, the Lions trade up for Sammy Watkins. In that case, his targets may go down, but if that doesn't happen, which we haven't seen yet, Golden Tate, wide receiver 2 on the Super Bowl champion Lions. You heard it here first, and now we're going to hear about somebody dogging my Lions, and you better be careful what he has to say.
Well, mark the tape, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first. Super Bowl champion Detroit Lions. All right,
super delusional.
I forgot if this was a humor podcast or a fantasy football one, but let's move right along.
Fantasy?
Yeah. All right, so Golden Tate. First of all, Golden Tate, I don't like how you treated Chris Carter, the Hall of Famer, after the Super Bowl. I think that was low class, my friend. But let's talk about Golden Tate. Man, the guy barely cracked the top 30 in wide receivers in PPR last year, coming in at whopping 29th. He was barely, if at all, even the best wide receiver on his own team, as Doug Baldwin put up just as good as numbers as he did. You know, in researching this, looking back at it, man, maybe there's just some cosmic issue as to why wide receiver 2s just flat out don't work in Detroit. You know, you're looking back since 2008 when Calvin Johnson, you know, he came in 2007, but 2008 was the year that he came in. He was, you know, wide receiver 1, was the main guy there ever since. So, you know, he's been there for that long, over the past 6 years. No other wide receiver on that team outside of Calvin Johnson has surpassed 86 receptions, 800 yards, and 6 touchdowns. I mean, that's the best the second wide receiver there has done since 2008, and that was Nate Burleson in 2010. So and that would have ranked, those numbers that I spouted off that, you know, that was the best we've seen since 2008, would have ranked Nate Burleson at 32nd last year in a PPR league from a point perspective. So I guess the question comes down to, what makes us think Golden Tate in his first year in Detroit is going to be the best wide receiver that the Lions have seen and been on their team since 2008. I mean, he put up barely better numbers than Doug Baldwin did, for crying out loud. So, I just don't see this guy as coming in and making the impact as everyone else seems to think. That he's coming into a new situation. He's got a completely new coaching staff on a new team. Yes, historically they passed the ball more than Seattle. I think everybody, would concur with that. The numbers bear that out. But I think what people may not realize is that the Lions, in 2012, they passed the ball 65% of the time of the plays. 65% of the time they threw the ball. But in 2013, it went down to 59% in the same regime. Yes, they have some new folks coming in. Caldwell, the offensive coordinator, it was in Baltimore last season. He passed it for roughly 60% of the time. But at the end of the day, their passing numbers have been going down in the old regime. I don't know that we're going to see the passing numbers that they were putting up 2 or 3 years ago. So you have Golden Tate. It's never been done before. It's not been done since 2008. I just don't see him coming in and putting up, high-end, mid-end wide receiver 2 numbers. I see him as a wide receiver 3, especially in his first year, maybe with 2 years in, his second year with Stafford and Megatron to get that chemistry going. I can see that, but not necessarily in 2014. Any thoughts on that, Jim?
Yeah, lots of thoughts. Step 1, stop. Step 2, collaborate. Step 3, and listen. Wait a second. Other than Stafford, Megatron, the Bell Bush combo, you want me to say someone is relevant? This is a joke, right? Guys, seriously? Anyone? Joking?
I don't want you to, but the Cushman certainly does. He's hopeful.
Yes.
He's hopeful.
See Nate Burleson. I will be perfectly honest. I had a lot of hope for this guy like 2-3 years back. I was like, oh, Nate Burleson, man, this guy could be great. He's going opposite of Megatron, and then he broke his leg or whatever he did. Really?
His ankle. He had bad ankles before he got there.
Yeah, I'll tell you, his bad ankles. Tell your mom I love her still, nonetheless. She's a great lady.
So anyway, look, you guys can say what you want.
And we will.
Yeah, I know you will. The Lions will go to the Super Bowl.
We've come full circle. On our next show, we're going to be breaking down and tiering the top 20 fantasy running backs for 2014 and comparing our rankings and tiers to the current ADP from Fantasy Football Calculator. So tune in next 2 weeks from now to see how we match up with their numbers. We'll also be sharing our thoughts on the first round of the NFL draft. So, does Johnny Manziel go to the Browns? Does Clowney end up going over, number 1 to the Texans? Tune in to find out in the fantasy scenarios from which they find themselves on those teams, the ramifications. We're going to be live every 2 weeks here in the off season moving forward. We're going to go back to once a week here as the season gets closer. So tune in on Friday, May 9th for our next live hangout. In the meantime, check out our previous shows on our YouTube channel, Red Zone Warriors Fantasy Football Show. Like us on Facebook at Red Zone Warriors Fantasy Football Show, and follow and tweet us your fantasy football questions on Twitter at Red Zone Warriors. So for the Cushman, the Jimmer, I am Rob Shiva Winter Smith. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next time. Peace.
I gotta go tinkle.